I've entered my first competition in quite some time. So if you've been following the channel lately, you may have noticed that everything that we're doing is geared towards me becoming a better golfer, learning along the way to help you guys watching, but also for me to try and win my first professional event. The interest for this was sparked after playing in Open qualifying. Now I played at Fulford and had a very mixed bag. I started with a triple bogey 7 and then a couple of holes later I had a hole in 1. So a little bit indifferent, but the rest of the round I actually played quite well, and given how nervous I was as I haven't competed regularly over the last few years, I was actually quite pleased with how the day went and what happened, but it left me yearning to improve my own game and have something to aim for. So after coming away from Open qualifying and having that sort of desire to become a better golfer, see my golf work in the right direction and have some goals to aim for, we started our tour tier series in which that I'm working from sort of the lowest rank of professionals up to the highest rank of professionals, and we've played a couple of events now and already it's opened my eyes to what I need to do to improve my game from their standpoint, to be as good as them, maybe how they see events working. And it's also given me a little bit of drive and a little bit of insight to actually where my game needs to be to actually try and win my first professional tournament. And that has led me to entering my first competition. Now it's going to be on Monday the 2nd of September and it's going to be at Bolton Lostock, which is in the Lancashire region, and it is a PGA event, so there'll be other local PGA pros that I'm competing against. And after playing with Peter Finch and playing with Graham Cox, both who have won on the local PGA Tour circuit, there's a few areas that they've highlighted, and there's also some areas that have been highlighted from those rounds and previous rounds from In the Red, from our ShotScope stats, that I need to start working on.
It's short game, it's 150 in, I would say. You're not going to be hitting a lot of long irons in any of these events, other than maybe off a tee.
Yeah.
So it's, even 100 yards in, I find you've got a lot of, if you're driving it well, you've got a lot, even if you're not driving it that well, but nothing we play is too penal.
Yeah.
So if you're good from 100 yards,
just
150, then you're going to give yourself chances.
Yeah.
Of course, you've got to be in play.
Yeah. But like gaining 20 yards off my drive is not, doesn't need to happen.
There's not. I'm certainly not the longest, but I'm one of the longer players on certainly regionally. I know it's different when you go up challenge and European, but you're comfortably, as long as me easily, aren't you?
Yeah.
If not, you can occasionally sneak one out of there.
Now and again when I want to.
But it's not that. I know lads who are, you think of one lad on the tour and he doesn't hit it. I can be 50 yards past him, but he wins often. His iron play, his putting, his mint. And I'd say, if you putt well, you can have a chance anywhere. Yeah.
So we're up here at the Dukes this week doing some content, and right now I'm actually going to go and iron out 2 of the areas that I need to improve to see, as Graham and as Peter have said, will help me become a better golfer and help me become more competitive when I get into these events. One of the big things that I do need to work upon is my yardages when I'm approaching the green, because at the minute I only hit 47% of the greens. I actually missed 34% short, so I've gone through my full bag here, actually getting my stock yardages for clubs. We did do this earlier in the year when I got the clubs new, but that was out in Portugal. The conditions are somewhat different in Portugal. It's warmer generally, the air's a little bit thinner, so the ball will have been flying a little bit further. So over the rounds that I've been playing recently, like I say, I have been 34% short a lot of the time, and I'm actually losing minus 2.48 strokes on my approach play. So that's the first area that I've been working there, just to get those stock yardages, so when I get to the competition, at least I'm not losing shots by thinking I maybe hit something further than I actually do and I end up pulling short. One of the other areas that I also need to improve upon is my tee shots. And the reason that I've been needing to improve these tee shots is, again, that when we look at my strokes gained, I lose minus 1.86 shots off the tee. And as Graham and as Peter alluded to, it's not that distance is the priority. I just need to find a shot that I can get into the fairway repeatedly and actually be consistent at that, because at the minute I only hit 38% of fairways, and as we can see, the strokes gained as well, I'm losing shots there. I don't need to be hitting it over 330 yards every time. I just need to make sure that I'm not out in the trees, knocking it out of play. I just need something that can find the fairway, because the course itself at Bolton is actually only 6,100 yards, so it's not the longest golf course in the world. A lot of the par fours are actually under 400 yards, so even if I'm getting it off the tee at 225 yards, a lot of the time I'm only going to have 175 total in. So by using something like my 3-wood that we can see here and what I'm working towards, just finding that stock fade shot, if this is happening and if it's in play constantly, that's going to give me a good chance of going in with shorter irons. And even if I can get my driver to be a little bit more consistent as well, then I don't have to worry about distance. It's more about finding the fairways for me. So what I need from the tee is a shot that I can rely on. As I'm going to do my strategy with the ShotScope app, it'll show that I don't need to be the longest, but I just need to get it in play. So I'm going to work with my 2-iron, my 3-wood and my driver, and just find that little fade shape that I can rely on and try and get some fairways and some consistency out of it. Okay. Well, I think we've found something with 3-wood, definitely pegging it a little bit lower. I'm feeling that I'm hitting a sort of squeezy cut with it, so I'm trying to help it up into the air. Just got to watch my setup. As soon as my alignment goes, that's when I struggle, but if I can get set up square and just try and hit this low squeezy sort of shot, just gets me swinging in a better direction. See, that's perfect. My issue is when I try and get those big high ones and I get stuck inside, face is gone, or I flip it as well. If I'm hitting it, getting it pegged a little bit lower, not worrying about distance, and get that sort of lower squeezed flight, it helps me control the club face a bit better. So I think we avoid trying to hit sort of high big shots, just as Graham and Pete said, not all about distance, just getting it in play. And if that means hitting that one that's a little pegged down more, so be it. That's perfect, it's hardly moving. Well, if I could bottle all those 3 and sell them and keep them till comp day, we'd be happy. They were super straight, definitely that lower peg, trying to not hit the big high bombs, just trying to hit a little fairway finder almost is key. Let's hit 2 more. Oh, that's the one. That is it. Body's turning, little fade. Let's take those to the comp. And the final area in terms of technique and skill and everything that I want to improve upon is my short game. Now, I'm actually not too bad when it comes to strokes gained here. I'm only minus 0.15 because my chipping's actually not too bad and my pitching is getting better, which is one area when I've done my yardages I've improved upon, a bit more control there. I spent some time up at Warrington getting one wedge distance, and even when I played my match at Wallasey against Joe, when we were at Irving, when we were at Prestwick, when I was at Warrington, I had a 58 degree and I had 3 points mapped out for that. So what I've actually done now as well is map out my 54 and my 50, so I've got an array of yardages that I can fall back on instead of just having the one. But the other area that I need to improve is my bunker play, because out of the bunker I'm losing minus 0.57 when I'm out there, and even when I'm hitting these shots I'm not that confident and I'm not that sort of clinical in what I'm doing. It's just a bit of hit and hope at the moment. So the first thing that I need to do with my bunker play, I think, is all about distance control and strike. So we'll do a little bit of work on my technique, and then I've got a drill where it's 10 balls, 2 different targets, so 5 balls to 2 targets, and I've got to pitch it in a certain little space, and I've got to get a 50% pass rate, because 8% of an up and down at the moment is nowhere where we need to be near. So I'm going to do some alignment work to start off with, just get a feel back for actually how I'm hitting different flights and trajectories with my 58, and then go on to my drill. Squarer. So I've got my target out there, which is 4 paces from front to back, which equates to roughly about 12 feet. And the aim is to try and land 5 out of the 10 balls in that target. I'm going to do here, so I've got 1 shot, and then I'm going to move around the bunker a little bit so I get different lies, and the aim is 5 out of 10. If I can get that control, if I can get it in that 12-foot window, I should start to gain some consistency, as where recently I've been landing it, you know, 20-30 feet short of my target sometimes. So 5 to start here, and then 5 random ones thrown in the bunker. Aim is to get 5 as a minimum, all just landing in there, not worried about where they finish, just need to get them floated in. Oh, well, that's not a good start. Over the green. There's one, it's more like it. There's a better shot, a bit more committed. Oh, I've done it again. Well, there's 3 over the green. Well, 2 out of 5. Let's go random lies. A bit too much. So nipped over the top. This is why we need to practice our bunkers. Poor. That's more like it, Matthew. A little bit long, but I think I've been hanging back there too much. Where there, that last one felt a bit more this way, so a bit more work to do on those. So before I tell you what my goals and what my expectations are for the comp, there's one other thing that I want to do as well. Preparation, I think, is a big key to me performing well, because actually when we look at my strokes gained for my score, on the front 9 is actually where it lets me down. And Pete and Graham were saying, as we go to a competition, we need to be prepared, not only by maybe going through something like my strategy on the shot scope app and looking at what tee shots I want to hit instead of just getting there and having a blast. I am going for a practice round, but I also want to just plot out a little bit of strategy on the app. But secondly, if I'm letting myself down early on in the round, does that come down to me not hitting balls beforehand? Does that come down to me not being fully limbered up, stretching, arriving on time, having a putt and things like that? So I need to make sure I'm doing that. But even here, as I said a moment ago, the course isn't overly long, just over 6,000 yards. And what I'm going to do is just have a little look on the My Strategy app here from shot scope, and even the first now, this is a perfect example. If I was thinking I need to improve my distance off the tee, the first hole is a par 4 and it's only 272 yards. Now what I can see is that if I just move my cursor up, there is a bunker at 238 yards off that tee. So it might be the case that actually I only need to hit something like a hybrid, and just looking at that, it gives me a good option to get either past that first bunker or it gets me into it. Even hitting something like my 4-iron, if I had that one in, that leaves me just shy of where that bunker would be. So being prepared by this and actually going through a plan, I think actually having a plan of attack is going to help me massively, because I think I'm going to be quite nervous and maybe not fully in comp mode because I haven't played one in a long time, bar the open qualifying. I think I've played maybe that one competition in the last 3 years. So it's the morning of what I'm going to hopefully see from this first competition. Well, I think expectation wise, I'm setting them low. I don't want to go out there thinking I'm going to win this first comp. It'd be nice, but given that it is my first one back realistically in a long time other than open qualifying, I'm not expecting to win. I'm expecting to be a few ups and downs, but nothing amazing. Goals wise, I've got a couple. Now, the first one is probably my main one, and that is to plan and prepare properly. We can see I've done my strategy, but my other goal is to make sure that I get there with enough time to go through a bit of a routine of hitting golf balls, having a chip, having a putt, doing some stretching and being fully prepared when I walk onto that first tee. And then secondly, my other goal is to stick to my plan. I've done my strategy part, and now I need to obviously deal with the nerves and the experience of the competition and stick to that plan. If it gets too much to me and just think, oh, and get down on myself, that's when it could go really wrong. But if I can do that, hopefully that leads to some good golf. Score wise, I'm not really setting a goal on that, but it'd be nice to break 75 in my first sort of comp after open qualifying. But it's not long now, fingers crossed. Stay tuned because the video of the comp will be coming out. If you haven't already, subscribe to the channel, like the video, and wish me luck guys. My first comp, here we go.